Hey, hey. So, today, not a Monday, it's a glorious Tuesday. And I'm really kind of ready for this one. I hope you guys are. But, hmm. Grace, I don't know. I didn't get one. Oh, look at those hearts flying up. Somebody has to tell me how they do that. Well, hello, Rocket Couch. Hello, Crazy Cats. What the Beck, Autistic Chill. Hey, Grace, it's good to see you. And hi, nice to see you as always. Yeah. Oh, you did get one, Grace? Cool. Okay. Hey, Michelle, how you doing? Somebody has to tell me how you're doing those lovely little hearts. They're really making me smile. That's adorable. Oh, thank you for the ordering, Michelle. Okay, no problem. No Mondays, right, Michelle? Thank you for joining the cause. In Grace, too. I appreciate you. And everyone who's got patience in the schedule change. But I'll just decided it's something I need to do for me. Yeah. Well, the first thing I want to talk about today is a case that you all were quite, many of you, I should say, were actually very interested in, and you wanted me to cover it from the start. Today, we're going to be talking about Shanquella Robinson and also the E. Jean Carroll case versus Trump. And there's actually several cases involved in that. And I'll explain that later. But I think what we want to start with, I think what I want to do is start with Shanquella Robinson because for me, the reason I used the Hall of Justice, a blurry Hall of Justice actual picture today for the thumbnails, is because I really don't think that here justice is actually coming down hard enough. Okay. You may recall from our last update on Shanquella Robinson, we were talking about the fact that the family had sent a detailed letter to the President of the United States and to the Department of Justice detailing what happened in Mexico, including all the records that they could get, the police report, the statement from the concierge, the autopsy report, and the video of the person who was actually a suspect in their eyes as to Shanquella's death. Shanquella died while on vacation in Los Cabos, Mexico, with several of her friends under suspicious circumstances according to the autopsy, of a blow to the head that was so strong, or an injury that was so strong, that her spine and head were pretty much separated. Now, there was swelling in the brain. She probably died of these injuries. It was reported that the group of friends went back, and several of them reported to the mother in particular that Shanquella died from alcohol poisoning or died from, alcohol drinking, which was not on the autopsy report. Okay. Concierge at the hotel where they stayed at the resort gave some testimony about some shady type of behavior, the making of dinner plans. They're all supposed to go there. They send a car for them for dinner. They all go and change the car to the airport immediately. Never checked out with the desk or anyone, left skulking, all of them, after it was reported, how they didn't call for anybody. They called for some medical advice very late to come to the room. They were very sketchy. Certain people were in charge. It's just all messed up. Either way, it deserved a proper investigation. Okay, no one's going to say that these people are guilty of anything without an investigation. Well, there should at least be an investigation in the death of a young woman under these kinds of circumstances. Well, for some reason, our government will not go forward even after the pleadings of the family and all that additional information. They did a second post autopsy on Shanquella, and they just don't agree. They just say that the brain swelling could have been from anything, and they don't really see anything suspicious here. Well, what about the video with all the hits to the head? What about the falling out? Another video that came up with her outside being pushed around again. There were several pieces of information that showed that trauma happened to her. And yet you still think nothing. With the families pleading. And the piece de resistance is that Mexico actually issued an arrest warrant for one of the party members, the one on the video that was seen physically attacking Shanquella Robinson. Shanquella Robinson not even defending herself, and she continued to beat her and beat her. We've all seen those clips, right? They're everywhere. And the family sent them with attorneys to President Biden and to the DOJ, and they don't want to prosecute. They said they are closing the case. There's nothing here. The family is rightfully very upset. TMZ had an interview with both the mother and the sister. The father was giving information. There's reporting from local news in Charlotte with testimony from the father saying justice is going to be served. We are going to keep this out. Shanquella died in October of 2022, and we can't even get a proper investigation. She died at a resort outside of the United States. She's not getting any proper consideration as an American citizen. They won't even look at it. Why does not her death matter? It's really unnerving. It really is. They have all the people involved. They know they lied about the circumstances. What more do you need to even just look at it? Unfortunately, it seems like the family is going to have another very long haul on this, but they're not giving up. They have Sue Ann Robinson, not related, even though the last name is the same. She is not related to the Robinson family, as an attorney who is pushing very hard for them. And I think that soon they shall get other. I'm hoping the ACLU or some other organization picks this up and starts pressing hard, because we need to start talking about it. So those of you that are interested, and those of you that feel like I do, you know what to do. We start hashtagging Shanquella Robinson. What happened to Shanquella Robinson? We want to know. We want to know. Don't you? I do. I think she deserves it to at least be looked at. You can't close it based on that. And I understand not wanting to believe everything that happened in Mexico, but can you at least send a representative down there to check? Could you at least work together with them to check on it, okay, for a little while and get it so that you can. It's impossible. It's impossible to actually try to get them to do the right thing in this case. The family is so frustrated. Now, I understand families often get frustrated when things take a long time or they don't go the way they think they should. But in this case, it's like everything's just stopped dead. Nothing is being done as far as they're concerned. It's like the case in Mexico still has an arrest warrant. Yes, Grace, it is still there as far as recent reporting that I see. Now, I can't get everything out of Mexico the way I can here in the United States. But from what I have read and seen, it still is. They still have that active warrant, but they can't serve it on her here. They can't serve it on her in a foreign country and without the help of the government. And the government is like, there's nothing to see here. Oh boy, I don't know. Well, I it's just so frustrating. I just don't even know how to even try to get it across that we really, really need to get better at actually caring about what happens to people all crowds. Now, what's really suspicious is that did we just have a case recently in social media all over the place about 4 or 5 people who were traveling in Mexico? 2 of them ended up dead. A couple of them ended up back here. There was an inquiry right away. There's investigation. They sent people down there. That was like a whole big thing. But this one, no. Just one girl in the middle of the night died with a group of friends and nobody cares. I really feel for the family. They most feel rather put the questions of why doesn't anybody care that this beautiful young girl is gone? Why won't they just, right, Grace? Just, they were killed at a resort. Exactly. And everybody made an actual big deal about that. I don't want to go so far as to say that, KCG, but I can imagine that that's how the family feels. And I don't blame them because it does look really bad, you know, really bad. Oh, but that's an American citizen. Please go down there and at least investigate. And to actually shut the family down like that, I just feel for them. I know, Juju. Me too. It should have a thorough investigation. I totally, totally agree. You know what, Crazy Cats? I'm not sure. Like I'm not sure. You mean in the four from last week? Possibly, because that all happened quite fast. And I don't know if perhaps there was something involved with other investigations that they were working on, maybe undercover drug traffic stuff or something like that. I don't know, you know, but it has been crazy that got taken care of so much. You know what? The resort itself is insisting on it. The concierge is very outspoken. He's given affidavits. He doesn't understand. He did everything he could to report it. He has been as open as possible and he's trying to help the family get it taken care of. That's what's so crazy. They have everybody that's willing to talk to them in Mexico. Like, and yet they're refusing to move forward. And I don't know if it's just I don't know, some relationship issue with the area or something. But I mean, they had an autopsy and everything, but they did their own and they decided on their own that there just wasn't enough, you know, and I don't know where they go from here, but they are making some noise. They decided they are still going to press the government to move forward. And they also have the opportunity to start suing people civilly. Now they must remember that Shanquella Robinson's family knows everyone who went on that trip. They know all those people personally. They can name them, and they may not be out of hot water yet. They may be thinking they're getting away with everything, but they're going to have to answer and put things on file because this family deserves to know exactly what happened. And if that means dragging everybody into civil court, so they allocate and say and give under oath testimony of actually what happened, maybe then the family can get some peace. But at this point, no one is offering this family any peace at all. Everything that the people told them when they came back from the trip proved to be wrong and false. There was other evidence that showed something else happened. They weren't being honest with them. They should have to actually, if they won't come forward and tell her, tell the mother, tell the father, tell the sister, and everyone who cared about Shanquella exactly what happened, then they have every right to sue them civilly for the wrongful death of Shanquella Robinson and let them defend themselves in an American court. I think with the evidence from Mexico that possibly can go forward on a civil level, and we'll have to see. I'm going to follow it because I think that's fascinating. I want to see if it's going to matter that the Department of Justice refused to investigate, whether a judge will think there's enough there to actually let a case go through. I think on civil, there's looser guidelines on it, and I think that it possibly could. And that may be their only resort to get some justice. Mm. I think, like in most cases, Andrew, in most countries, you have to be a citizen. Like in here, like if you're from another country and you try to search our public databases for certain information, though unless you're using something to block where you're coming from, you can't get it. Because I have many friends around the world that ask me to investigate cases for them, that are here in America because they can't get access, even though they're public free access here for us. So it's something like that. And I know when I search and I try to get to anything in Mexico, I hit a brick wall. So that's what I'm thinking. It's the same kind of thing. I think I could file some kind of thing. A FOIA is an American system, way of doing it, but they must have something like that in Mexico. But I'm sure it's for fee and little tiny channel, and I'm not paying for records and things like that. I can find enough like the other way. But that's the issue that I come across with other countries. But when I do need something from other countries and I want to look at a legal document, if it's public access, I do ask friends to read them to me or to give me the pertinent information. We do try to find everything out. Well, I don't know anyone in Mexico, unfortunately. I am just reading the reporting coming out. Most of it's coming through the family, and then through the family articles, we can find leads as to other. Okay, sorry about that. I'm sorry if you heard my tab go off, but got a notification. But anyway, it is very sad. But that's really all I have to report on Shaquilla Robinson is that there's nothing really major to report because again, it's been stonewall. Anna, that's a good question. I don't think Shanquella Robinson is, but I do think perhaps the major reporting that was done on the other four last week could be because of how fast everybody got involved in it. It's just such an opposite way of dealing with it that I was surprised, and it really stuck out to me because we've been looking at Shanquella Robinson since October, and nothing's been done. Nothing. So oh, I shouldn't say nothing. That's a misnomer on my part. It, they did do an autopsy. They did try to address the concerns, but they decided to say there was nothing there. So they did do that. They walked away. They closed the door on the Robinson family on investigating Shanquella Robinson's death in Mexico and or assisting Mexico in the serving of the arrest warrant for the friend named in the video. I'm being kind by not mentioning that person's name because there is no action against them in America, and I don't feel that it's fair. I'm trying to be unbiased, although I feel strongly that they do have questions to answer. I don't feel it's proper to come out in social media and bash their name all over the place as a suspect when they haven't been named to anything in America and they haven't even been served anything in Mexico. They haven't even been called in for questioning in Mexico because they can't have access to them. And I would like to also, on that end, stress that knowing that there's an inquiry in Mexico, knowing that there are questions that need to be answered, no one from the party that left Mexico that night has given any information to Mexico to clear their names. They will not answer questions. They will not go in for, they will not even go with an attorney and do like a Skype call for investigation purposes. And we can't, and because the United States isn't assisting, no one can force them to. Hmm. Yep. Right, Anna? I don't think it's right. I do try to be cautious in that way. I know that it annoys some people, but I'm sticking to it. I think it's the right thing to do. I know, Jujubee, the whole lot of them. If you're innocent, why won't you at least do an affidavit and send it via your attorney, or you can even get it certified by somebody, by a notary, and send it to them as your statement, something to clear your name. Don't leave this all hanging out there, to put the case to rest, to give the family some solace. It's got to be so frustrating for you. Hmm. Well, anyway, that's the sad and inadequate news that I have in regards to lovely Shanquella Robinson. And I have another picture. This picture that's been used for the thumbnail. She is a beautiful young lady. Well, she was always a beautiful young lady. This is a couple years before. Fresh face, no makeup, a beautiful young person who it's just it's sad that we can't give solace to the family to know exactly what happened. Exactly, Juju. If it happened to anyone I knew, I would want to know. I'm hoping, Anna, that you're right, that sooner or later, Anna says, sooner or later, somebody will have a conscience and talk. And I'm hoping that they do. Somebody says something to the family, something comes up. And for the rest of you that are joining while I'm switching over here, I want to say welcome. Hey, Charlie, nice to see you. Nice to see you, Wrecker. And I'm glad you're here, Anna, too. KCG, Juju B that came in after. And let me see if I missed anybody else. But thank you for joining. I think if you don't have any more questions, I'm looking through. Grace, I don't know if the friends have the money to pay anybody off. Hmm. I don't know, but it does seem like something. It's just crazy. Or the friends. I don't know. Yep. Mm. I understand, KCG. It is hard. You don't want to actually infer something like that, but doesn't it, with all the other coverage for everything else that was going on, don't you find it a little suspicious? Like, I can imagine how the family is feeling that no one cares, you know? No one cared. Mm. It's just a little crazy. Um, Thank you, Autistic Shield, and congratulations to 5 of you who have been given 5 memberships to the channel. That would, you can see your names posted in the chat. Those of you that aren't here, the next time you show up, you will see that you've got a green icon. And if you are not already in the Discord or haven't been gifted a membership before, you will get a temporary gifted membership to play games for the month. So hit me up in DMs with your Discord ID. And thank you, Shill. Thank you for your support. And I'm sure everybody will appreciate the membership for the 30 days and playing in the Discord a couple of times. So we're having a lot of fun in there lately. We are. We've found Discord is added all kinds of games and things, and we've been doing movie nights. It's been fun. Plus, we get to talk about a lot more murder cases that we don't actually bring out here on YouTube because there's just too much. As you all know, with all the trials that are going on right now, it's almost impossible to keep up as it is. All right. Well, I have another one to talk about today. If you don't have any more questions in regards to Shanquella, and it's hard to have questions, I understand, because there really isn't much to talk about. Hey, Skits Crasher. Hey, Mousy. Nice to see you both. Thank you for joining. Yeah, it's a good afternoon because it's a Tuesday. It's a Tuesday early evening here on the East Coast in the States, and it's a much better way for me to start the week. And thank you, Juju B, for celebrating. I took Mondays back. Yeah, they are second Sundays forever now. That's it. That's it. I'm done. I'm done with Monday. I really am. Now, the next case I have is quite complicated. We have talked about it before. I think you saw the picture. Let's go back. You saw the picture on the thumbnail, I'm assuming. I'll pull it back up. You know who it's talking about here. We're going to move on to, this is E. Jean Carroll. Okay. E. Jean Carroll in 2019 filed a defamation suit against then sitting President Donald Trump because she did an article, an interview with a magazine, and told a story. It was something she had also said before in regards to being assaulted by Donald Trump in a department store. He was so livid about that while giving speeches and doing tours, he started to say some pretty nasty things about her. She filed a defamation suit in regards to it. She says the story is true, that he is defaming her from a public platform and ruining her name and her career, and she filed a suit. Now, that first lawsuit is being held up, and it has tricky things involved in it that we've discussed before. And that is that when he is serving his public duties as president, he can't be sued. That is a legal precedent. That is a line you cannot cross. Except the attorneys here kicked it to the Supreme Court. They kicked it to the Supreme Court because they said when you are handling a personal beef, that you have with somebody, are you actually performing the duties of your government job? And does immunity actually apply to everything you do 24/7? Or does it only apply to when you're performing your actual governmental duties that it's meant to protect? That was a very good question. And it was the precise wording of the question which made it almost impossible for the Supreme Court to answer. The Washington District, where it went, Supreme Court, kicked it back on the 13th, back to the Manhattan, where everything's being filed in New York, of course. New York, it seems to be a very fertile ground for legal issues for Donald Trump. I'm just saying, might as well get it out there. What the hell going on in New York in regards to Donald Trump? Okay, a lot. There always has been, but right now it's a legal sticky pot over there. There's a lot. Well, this particular case is hot because the first part was stalled. Washington District, the District Supreme Court in Washington, in Columbia, the District of Columbia, kicked it back to Manhattan Supreme Court, saying, we cannot give you a definitive answer because this is what we say. We don't have enough facts because we don't know what Donald Trump was thinking. We would say that based on what we see, based on what we're seeing, okay, was he or was he not actually performing his duties when he said these awful things about Jean Carroll? All right, let me read his quotes are like great in here. They just decided that mm, you can't. They used an example of if here's the premise. An example would be if you work for a delivery company and you're delivering a package, you walk up to the door of house A and you knock on the door, and the person that opens the door is the person you had a big fight with the other day and said something really lousy about your wife. You haul off and punch this person in the mouth as you give them the package. Okay. In essence, you were doing your job. What was punching the person in the mouth part of your job? And should it be covered by immunity? Is it sanctioned by the employer? Are you acting on the employer's behalf when you laid hands on the person that talked about your wife? No, you're not, are you? That would be kind of doing your thing on company time. And just because you're on company time doesn't give you immunity. Okay. What they did say in this ruling, and by the way, all the court rulings that I'm talking about on the Carroll case, I've all linked them down below for you. I've got down there this ruling I'm talking about right now that came out of the District of Columbia Supreme Court, kicking it back, and also the original filing of both cases that we're going to be talking about, both parts of it, and also Kaplan's orders recently in regards to not severing, which we're going to talk about. But there was plenty going on with it. So in this case, that example kind of makes sense, right, Anna? I could see you guys saying, yep, it doesn't make any sense that you would say that punching someone in the face during company hours is conducting employee business or representing the employer's interest. Okay. And it doesn't. And I'm glad they kicked it back because now perhaps it will move forward that part of the defamation case, because not only did he say it while he's president, okay, and granted, the Department of Justice routinely says, hey, he was president at the time, he can't be sued. If he was on stage conducting any kind of speech in regards to his duties, that's it, you can't go any further. They gave a letter of support saying you can't sue a president while he's sitting because he's performing his duties, blah, blah, blah. The blanket one, they give everything. They are not backing what he said. They are not saying there's not anything to appeal there, because it did get appealed. But nobody came forward, okay, to say that no, it wasn't this way. It's going to take a legal battle to actually prove back and forth whether or not he's acting as in the employer's best interest. But there was, first of all, this thing was for them to kick it back, it took 52 pages. There's a lot of legal precedents there. There's a lot of statements from the attorneys there. Okay. That was momentous in itself. They're not even giving you an actual judgment or opinion, but it took 52 pages because they're saying why. Because you actually have to come down to what is the actual employee's responsibility to the employer, and were they actually doing it when they did what they did. So I guess it, to me, that means, was he actually being presidential when he called her horse face and said he wouldn't sleep with her because she's not his type? That she's a liar and a cheat and a crazy person? When he went on and on from a campaign, from up there doing his speeches and just had to keep bashing her, he brought attention to it. He brought personal attention to it prior to being sued. Okay. Was that in the best interest of his employer? And let's not forget that the employer is the United States of America, all of us. How do you feel about it? Was Donald Trump acting in your best interest as his employer when he decided to defame someone, call them out for a personal beef? Did that help the country in any way? Did it stand for anything in right and wrong and justice for Americans? I think not. And I know I'm being a little bit snarky here, but damn, don't you think something like that deserves just a little bit of snark? Because, come on, really? Really, Donald Trump? Is that what you think is going to protect you? It doesn't look like it's working. They're punting it back to New York, your favorite state. They're punting it back to New York. And if New York decides that they've made a good point about whether or not you were acting in the best interest of your employer, well, the first part of this suit might go forward. But you got bigger problems than that, because now I'm going to tell you that he did that in 2019, but he didn't leave it alone. He left the office. Do you know he had the nerve to do it again in 2020 and 2021 and 2022? He kept doing it. So, as soon as he wasn't president again, they filed on all the other statements that he made. Yes, they did. And it gets worse because, as I have told you before when we covered this, New York opened up a window in their adult survivors and children's law that says that sexual abuse survivors have a 1-year window, regardless of how long ago the claim of assault was, to file charges against their abuser. Bingo. November 2022, E. Jean Carroll amends her second defamation claim for all the other statements he made when he was out of office, okay, which went to court, and the judge decided there was enough there and said he wasn't president anymore and immunity didn't apply. That was cleared. This case was going forward, okay, just on the defamation. He already had trouble because they agreed that the case was going forward. The second case. The first case is stalled. A judge won't agree to push it forward because he doesn't think it's legal to actually have the case if he was president. So that's how all that started. Well, the second one, it went forward. And in November of 2022, this past November, E. Jean Carroll added her assault to it. Now, this is a civil case, not a criminal case. So there's more leeway. It's on. It's on like Donkey Kong in New York with the E. Jean Carroll case. That is being flagged because let me tell you what's going on with that. Not only did the judge approve that the Billy Bush tapes could be heard by the jury, oh yes, they get to hear that. All that he said while he was president. No, that was campaign stuff while he was campaigning. Okay. They also are going to hear from 2 other women who said they were assaulted in the same exact manner that E. Jean Carroll was at the time. The judge has already allowed that those people can come forward and testify, even though they're prior acts. Yeah. Judge ain't playing. This judge ain't playing. They said that the cases were too, the claims were so similar they needed to be presented, especially since Donald Trump's defense is that he would never do that because she's a horse face. Even though I saw in an article that he literally mistook a younger picture of Jean Carroll for his ex-wife, Marla. He actually thought it was her in another picture. But he would never, ever do that to her because she's not his type. Well, she was 20 some years ago. All right. There are so many lawsuits, Anna. I will get to that. I mean, I could probably do a show just on going over just with one little small paragraph every lawsuit that's going on right now, but there are so many lawsuits with Trump involved. Well, that's not really that's not really anything new because I'm on the East Coast and we've known of all of the Donald Trump lawsuits that have been ongoing for 30 years, 40 years, like forever. Okay. And yes, another interesting part of this case, as Anna is saying in the chat, is that Mary Trump, niece of Donald Trump, gave DNA to help prove some of this case. Okay. No. Oh, you mean 3 or 4 women now? Well, there were 2 that I know are testifying. I do believe several more came forward. I'm not clear if they're testifying yet. I'm looking for documentation that they've been approved, which is why I didn't mention them. But there's definitely 2 on the witness list right now that are going forward because this particular case is going forward April 25th. Although not only did they try to say first, Donald Trump's attorneys tried to say, well, the first part of this defamation has been stalled, and we need to link both cases together, and you can't go forward with the second one because we should link them both together, because that would be better for us as far as our attorney and as far as defense and all of this. And because they're looking for a delay, if they link them together, it depends on the first one when they go forward. Judge says no. They are 2 separate things. One is while you were president. One is obviously while you were not. You have protected immunity in one. You don't in the other. Justice needs to prevail for the victim in the other one. And they have additional charges on there. That's a totally separate case. And we're going forward with it. Yay, Judge Kaplan. And that's the judge in this case, by the way, Judge Kaplan. Okay. So yay, Judge Kaplan. Judge Kaplan says, no, nice try. Go back to the drawing board. We are not going to put these cases together. They remain separate. Okay. It is not, and actually his order in regards to the separation actually calls them like it has no water. It has no backing. There's no reason. I don't even know why you filed this. I was reading it like the guy must have been like so confused. It's like, what is this about? This doesn't make any sense. Did a lawyer write this? I mean, I actually expected to read it at the end, a judge to say, did a lawyer actually write this? Because, like, I don't understand what you're asking me to do here. This is insane. But yeah, they did. Well, that isn't even the best part. Because also this week, because the trial is due April 25th, they start with the jury selection. Okay. So much shenanigans is going on. Judge Kaplan has already ordered that this jury will be anonymous. No one will know who they are because this judge already knows that the defense and Donald Trump has a reputation of messing with the jury. They already said that he set precedent to his bad behavior that he can't be trusted with the jury names. Not like they didn't try. They want to know where they live. They want to know their name. They want to know their work. The judge was like, what part of anonymous jury did you not understand? Like, okay, here we go. I'm telling you, it's insane. The questions they want to ask on both sides were quite telling. Quite telling. Absolutely. On E. Jean Carroll side, they wanted to know if anybody that over on that side, they want to know if they've ever heard of True Social or whatever the Trump thing is called. The other Twitter like thing that he went to, that he started. Yeah, they want to know if they know about it or if they're on it. That's a question for the jury. Okay. which I can understand because that might lean you to be like a little more supportive. They want to know if they donated to campaigns, they want to know a lot of stuff. They want to make sure they get an impartial jury, but it's going to be tough. Both sides are going to have a hard time finding an impartial jury on either side because many people are insinuating that E. Jean Carroll started all this just because it's a political thing. Okay, I can't imagine a woman who went through this is going to be coming and doing this for a political thing. Okay, E. Jean Carroll has given testimony that she has talked to other people from the day it started. There are people going to testify that they knew about this, that she chose to remain silent for embarrassment and shame. She knew she would get attacked. She had a public career. She didn't want to come forward because of that. She knew what would happen to her. Remember the climate 30 years ago. Remember what it was like. Okay. There weren't the protections there are now for the victims. They didn't exist then. Okay. I can understand where she's coming from. But now, because her attorneys went to a nonprofit organization for some of their expenses, Jean Carroll didn't do it. Okay. But her attorneys did. They're trying to link it to some big billionaire who definitely doesn't like Trump, who said, and they quoted in one of their affidavits, and I mean the defense did, quoted to the judge that this person said several years ago that they would do anything to keep Trump out of office. So they want a delay because, well, they need to investigate this. Well, Kaplan said, no, you don't get a delay for that. You can bring that to the jury. If you've got questions about how the financing was done for the lawsuit, bring it to the jury. Because from the affidavits from Jean Carroll and from Roberta Kaplan, oh, by the way, no relationship to the judge, but Jean Carroll has an excellent attorney by the name of Roberta Kaplan, and some of you that follow some of the bigger cases will know who that is. Okay? Yeah. Well, hey, student, I'm so glad to see your name in there. How you doing? I hope you're well. Anyway, yep, True Social. Yeah, that's it, Anna. It is irrelevant. It does. It is, but I think they think because they are on True Social that they might be leaning more towards Trump, you know. But anyway, Jean Carroll's attorney is Roberta Kaplan. And she filed an affidavit that said that the expenses, when the attorneys went to that organization for the expenses, it was actually, in late 2020, as a matter of fact, when all of that was done. And the lawsuit was filed originally in 2019. So how could they have influenced them when they didn't even give them money until years later? Okay. And the case is actually a contingency case. It's a civil lawsuit. And the primary lawyers are taking it on contingency, which means they're not going to get paid if they don't win. Not from Jean Carroll. They do get some expenses, okay? And they were having difficulty meeting some of those and private investigators and document fees. So they did get some funding, okay, just to hold them over. And it did come from someone that was related to a LinkedIn, the guy with LinkedIn and the guy with Facebook and all of that. And, you know, anyway, he did say what he said, this guy who backs this company, but he didn't personally give money to E. Jean Carroll or her attorneys. Okay. They went through a proper way of channeling for victims to get expenses paid in trials. That's all. And it happened after the fact, so it's going to be hard. And the judge already slapped it back because he could see that they're really reaching. We'll talk about reaching for the delay. Oh my gosh. The next thing they filed this week was because Alvin Bragg's DA, district attorney in the Southern District of New York, filed charges and indictment against Donald Trump for business practice fraud in the reporting of his money to Stormy Daniels. And nobody really cares what he did with Stormy Daniels, but he did break the law in how he tried to hide it in the campaign finances, which he did. 11 counts, all documented, all against the law. No matter how you look at it, that was against the law. Justice matters, I think. But it doesn't seem to be a good enough excuse to get out of another trial, because Donald and his attorneys are actually crying to the court that because of the bad press of being an indictment, it would be prejudicial to go forward with another lawsuit because I have another lawsuit in another lawsuit in another lawsuit. I don't look so good out there right now. I really think you should have pity on me and not go forward with this on April 25th. It's just not going to be good for me. Well, I'm sorry. When I read that, I literally could hear the judge cackling from afar. I'm like, how is he even sitting there with a straight face reading this? Because I cannot believe the audacity. Okay, so you do wrong. You set the precedent. People are making you pay for it and actually calling you up on it. And you want us to worry about how you look in the public and we're not supposed to go forward with it. Wow. Absolutely wow. That was like, yeah, I saw that, Jean. We're going to be talking about that tomorrow. For anybody who's reading that in the chat, and for all of you out there on YouTube who cannot see the chat yet or are going to look at this later, he's talking about Dominion settling with Fox News today. As the jury was seated, we had a jury, we were going forward, everything was all through. They had 7,021 exhibits to show. They folded. Fox News folded, settled. Okay, there won't be a trial. Okay. Well, we'll talk about that tomorrow afternoon. And boy, do I got some, man, that is juicy AF. I've got some stuff on that. It's like mind blowing, very intriguing. What I actually like about the legal twists on things actually got me going. I think there's some truth in it. I think that things are going to be jumping off on this. I don't think it's an under the carpet kind of thing, but we'll talk about that tomorrow. In regards to Carroll, this is not going to get delayed. Kaplan took one look at all of that and said, damn, are you kidding me? You want to delay my trial and disrupt all of us because you got a little bit of bad press going on over there? I don't think so. No, those are two separate cases. They have nothing to do with each other. It's not like, no, we are not going to delay because you've got something else going on. You've got a bad day. Yeah. You don't get extra time because you discovered something that was perfectly evident from the beginning about the investment or people paying the expenses for E.G. and Carroll. If your lawyers didn't dig anything up by now or your investigators, you're just going to have to do it with the jury. You can ask questions. You are allowed to bring it up. The judge was fair enough to say you are allowed to question and bring it up within certain parameters, in the guidelines. You can bring that up and leave it to a jury. Well, there's nothing illegal about what happened. So, of course, we're trying to make it all like it's a political play against him when we're not talking about that. We're talking about the words that you said. Okay. And we're talking, that's not a political thing. You said what you said, sir. It's documented. And you said it publicly in a reportable manner repeatedly to the press. It's in articles. It's in statements. It's in campaign statements. It's in all kinds of stuff. It's crazy. It is so absolutely insane that they thought that was going to go. But anyway, the judge has ordered an anonymous jury. The judge has ordered a lot of things in regards to Donald does have to appear in court. Yes, he does. And he has every right to be there, and he should be there. And Kaplan is stating that he should. Okay. They also are going to have two other women testify. They're going to allow, the jury's going to be allowed to hear the Billy Bush tapes. All this is prejudicial against him. He's been fighting hard with his attorneys to keep it out. It's been a long haul. What it looks like, no matter what they do, there will be a trial on April 25th. Of course, unless he settles. And everybody knows Donald Trump does not have a reputation for settling. He's a fighter. So we'll see. We'll see what happens next week. But damn, I will definitely going to be telling you about it for sure. And here in America, or student, that documentary may have some things about voting machines. Here in America, the judge in that lawsuit said that every statement that Fox News made in regards to Dominion was false. It was proven false. And that's what this suit is about. And so Fox News was wrong. Regardless of how you feel about the company, Dominion itself, they were defamed because what they said they did, they didn't do. And what they said was done was impossible. And so a judge actually already told the jury in that case that there was no reason to prove that defamation existed because though it's already proven that the jury was allowed to go forward as if it already existed. They just had to settle on intent to find out how much to charge them. That is what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. So I hope that you'll join us because it's going to be a good discussion. Because here in America, the judge actually took care of that, regardless of the company. And there is another side to that. That documentary was quite skewed, actually, in my opinion. Hey, Mary Beth, how you doing? If it's the same one that I'm thinking, student, I'd appreciate you sending me the link to the one you watched because I'd like to be speaking on the same thing you are if I do. You know what I mean? Like, maybe there's a different one I didn't see. Mm. Well, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, crazy cat. But do you guys have any questions in regards to Carroll? Because this is. Oh, okay. Okay. Thanks, student. If you can. If you can't, I appreciate it though. Anyway, thank you. Um, Jean Carroll's case fascinates me because number one, it's one of the first ones being tried on the the Adult Survivors Act that New York instituted, that 1 year window. And it's the first time that anyone has gone after a president, sitting or ex, in such a manner that I can tell. Legally, it's like ping pong going back and forth in regards to how far they can go and whatever. But uh, everyone kind of, if you listen to some of my stuff, you kind of can tell my politics a little bit. I am left leaning, but I'm not unreasonable. I would not call myself a downright uh hater, like downright biased against the man. I do know a lot of history though of what he's done business wise for many years because I'm here on the East Coast and it's in our paper like constantly. And not just the ones you would call to be left leaning. Everybody knows of his business practices. And yet, he's still, it seems like we all have to ignore that. But I think in this case, I think justice matters. Okay. And this whole stream today is about that. Because for Shanquella Robinson, justice matters, and it needs to be taken care of. And they're not doing it. And for E. Jean Carroll has a right as an American citizen that if she is defamed by a public figure and it damages her, okay, and because she feels she's telling the truth and they want to twist it and use it as campaign fodder, make her some kind of martyr for his service, no. She has every right to sue. And I want to see justice for her too. And if he indeed commit the acts that she says he did, I want to see him pay for that too. Because he doesn't get the entitlement. You can't hide behind it. Justice matters for everyone. Okay. The only reason that law exists, not because a president cannot be a criminal. We all know a president can. But because actually having to go through a criminal case while you're a president would interfere with the running of the country drastically. That's why that law is there. It's there to protect police. It's there to protect everybody. There's some form of that law there to protect everybody that forms a federal function or a governmental function in their daily activity. But it doesn't apply to you when you're not there. And it doesn't apply to you when you do something personal like a beef. Okay. That is there to protect you so that you can perform your duties. But it shouldn't protect you when what you're doing has nothing to do with the duties of the employer or the act or the country or the police department or any other government official. Okay. Justice matters. Okay. And I'm glad that this case got filed. And they can call it petty all they want. Well, she's got a voice and she's using it. And this is a landmark case. It's going to be. And they're trying to bury it. They've been trying to bury it since it got filed. But it's not working because there is no legal reason that she cannot make these claims and try to prove them in court. And a judge did decide that there was enough evidence there to bring it forward to court. And the more they keep up with the shenanigans, his side, the more he's upsetting the court because they don't seem to have much respect for the legal system at all. And if you actually want to use the legal system to protect you, you should be a little more respectful. It kind of doesn't work if you don't, you know. Hey, Spooky, nice to see you. Oh, yes. Okay. I'm going to put up some stuff. Like, I was mad when I saw the article about Shanquella's case. Seems like it's going to be yet another one. I hope not. I mean, they're actually pushing to fight, and I hope that they get somebody big on their side to fight a little harder. I really do. I really do. Oh, oh, I don't know. Hmm. I'm looking for questions here. Yes, yes, crazy cats. That video is actually going to be quite damaging. Although nobody seemed to care that much about it during the election, which was surprising to me, actually. hmm it really was, you know. Mhm. And it says, it just throws me that Trump thinks he can get by with his crimes while screaming law and order for years. He did. He did. And it seems like they just turn away. It's like law and order for all of us, but none of them. And that's what's kind of upsetting to me. And it's not like that I want to make anybody like, a scapegoat for anything, or I want to pin it all on any particular party because it goes on both, actually, turning their head, not stepping forward. I mean, justice matters. I mean, seriously. That's a hashtag that saw the other day, and I'm going to keep using it just about on every stream because it actually does. And who's immune from it, actually? Seriously. Who gets the not obey law and order? I mean, there's only a delay if he's president as to when it can be filed. They may not be held accountable, even if 2019 gets canceled in Jean Carroll's case, because Manhattan decides there's not enough there to say they can't really get into his mind to say if he was acting as a personal belief or he actually thought that he was performing what was best for the country at the time. Oh, who's going to say how he thought? I mean, we can all make assumptions, but they don't hold up in court, do they? If they decide there's not enough there for them to decide whether he was actually acting at the employer's best interest at the time, which I actually think there is enough interest there. If you actually just look at what he said, no reasonable person could believe that that was presidential or acting in the best interest of the country. But they'll twist it. They'll say he was defending himself, and defending a president is in the best interest of the country. I would agree with that. But I don't think he's defending a president. I think he's slamming somebody else. I really do. Because there wasn't any defense as to how he couldn't have done it, except for to insult and defame someone else in regards to it. So it's like a double-edged sword in a way. It's very complicated. I can't wait to see the rulings coming out of the Manhattan District for Court of Appeals. I cannot wait to see what they have to say about it now, because once it gets back to Kaplan, well, we'll see if it's going to go forward. Well, they have control of it now. Kaplan can't do anything without the Court of Appeals ruling on it. You know what? I don't think there's going to be a whitewashing of it at all. I don't. I really do hope that it does go forward, and that if there's evidence, that everything will go forward as like. I don't understand why he wouldn't just negotiate or settle, or why he didn't just stop talking about her after she filed in 2019. But, hey, he really thought he was going to be protected forever. It's I cannot understand why the man does half of what he does, but it looked like total intent to destroy her character when he kept speaking on her, knowing there was a defamation suit out there against him. He just kept doing it, and in a way, I do believe that's going to show clear malicious intent, which is one of the keys to defamation when you're a public figure. And they are going to argue that E. Jean Carroll is a public figure because she was an advice columnist. She had a website. She's been around forever. She does articles. She's famous. She has a name in certain circles. She's famous enough for him to actually indicate that to mean she's got to prove malicious intent. Okay. And unfortunately, I think that perhaps the ongoing statements do prove his intent to do it, especially after the lawsuit was filed. I do hope, like the rest of you, that more comes forward for Shanquella Robinson. And like I said, all we can do is hashtag what happened to her, hashtag justice matters. If you see any articles on it, retweet them, get it out there, let her name be known, support the family. That way, at least, with getting the information out there, that can be quite helpful. Every little bit counts. I'm going to keep following up on it. As sad as it is, we do want to see some kind of closure for the family. And we're going to keep following on E. Jean Carroll, too, in many other cases. But for now, that's my hour. And unless you have any other questions, that's the update for today. I will be back tomorrow with one of the trial cases. I do believe tomorrow is Vallow. And then on Thursday, we will do Storch again. And then we're back with our friend Daniel Masterson on Friday because they started jury selection. Yes, they did. And already there's been shenanigans the week before. I've got shenanigans in that trial too. It's shenanigans everywhere. Anyway, without any more questions, I think I'll just tell you all to have a great night. I'm going to put on the banner for the YouTube things. Okay. As I just look through the chat a couple more times, tell you to have a great week. I hope to see you all tomorrow and the next day. I don't know the exact times. I'm hoping to do one of them a little later for those of you that like late, another one a little earlier for those of you that like it around this time, if I can. But I'm doing 2 tomorrow because I'm absolutely doing Dominion. Dominion will be earlier in the day, absolutely. So hopefully I'll see you all then. I'm thinking in the afternoon. Oh, thank you, Mipit. That's so nice of you to say. And it's lovely to see you too. Mary Beth, it's okay to be late. And I'm glad you're feeling better every day. I'm glad many of you are. And thank you to all of you who sent me DMs and posts for me not feeling well over the weekend and worrying about Monday. Please don't worry about it. I've just decided to take it back, and that will just be my no stream day from now on because, like, me and Monday, we just don't get along. I'm quite busy over the weekend anyway. So I hope you don't mind me moving it, but this will be the day now for the true crime in legal updates. We'll be on Tuesdays, along with all the extra ones we do on the trials, which are just too big to do in just a weekly show. So on that, if you guys don't have any other questions, thank you so much, Beck and Shill, for putting my stuff out there. Please, if you like the content, share it. If you like what you see, consider becoming a member or on the Patreon. You will get into the Discord, like it says below, or at least a subscriber. I know I've got many of you watching me that haven't even subscribed yet. So why not? I mean, there's no shame in liking a bear, and there's no shame in stroking a bear and making her happy. So please put your questions on the back of the comments. Put it in the comments section on the back of the videos, especially with the ones that are involved in something specific like today. And, I would like to have those conversations. I answer every single one. And if you're interested in other cases and all, use that community tab to tell me that there. There's always plenty of things there. You can comment on the community tab. You can comment here on the videos themselves, Well, I enjoy it. Hey, Michael Berman, how are you? Nice to see you. And Mary Beth, thank you. I do think it's a good thing to just take a little time. I think everyone should, just take a little time for themselves. It makes these kind of things much more enjoyable. And some of these cases are just not. We all know. They all got a legal thing, though, that I want to keep following. So as distasteful as they are, we'll still do them. We try to just I do like that twist. And the E. Jean Carroll has had plenty of it. And I hope that we will get somewhere with the Shanquella Robinson unsolved, undetermined death for the family. I hope more comes forward on that. So again, thank you everybody on that. I'm going to put on that intro and tell you all good night, and I'll see you all tomorrow.